Cool, so that's the recording started. Welcome to the NWC show. This is episode 13. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Snypes. I'm based out of Los Angeles, professional wrestler. Everybody knows my name when I say, what's my name? It's Snypes.
Yeah, man, I've been checking quite a lot of your stuff out on Twitter, YouTube and stuff like that, like your matches. And I've been on a pure binge for your matches the past couple of weeks that we've been speaking.
Awesome.
They're just really cool. It puts me in mind of the stuff that I was trying to do when I was getting into the wrestling business when I was younger. And it just looks cool. Everything you do, I think it looks cool. Your character's cool. And yeah, just waiting for that moment for it to really hit off. It's something that I like watching. So we always kick every podcast off with the same question, and it's, what got you into wrestling? So what's the moment that you saw wrestling and were like, this is a thing that I want to do. This is what I want to watch and be in.
Damn, it was actually a happy accident, I like to say. I met WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi at the gym, and me just being a fan of wrestling, I just approached him, and he offered to train me. Well, actually, he offered just for me to come check out his school. I checked out the school, and I was like, all right, it's cool. And then I started meeting the guys, I never officially joined his school, but I was around them for about a month. Mm-hmm. And then they coerced me to join, and I joined wrestling. I just started from there. And yeah, that's what actually drove me into wrestling, because I've always just been a fan of it. I never really wanted to pursue it. I was just a huge fan of wrestling, So I met Rikishi.
Yeah, I think anybody meeting Rikishi would probably turn them on to be a fan, coming to go training at school, meet somebody like that. And how long have you been wrestling? How long have you been active?
I've actually been wrestling I'd say my wrestling career started February be 7 years. Yeah, February be 7 years. But the first 3 years I was more so training, so I wasn't out there doing much. And then I wouldn't say I took off. I just wasn't as dedicated for probably 2 years or so. I probably was into like working, and every now and then I would take a booking, and I just wasn't. I just didn't put my best foot forward. And then when the 6th year or 5th year came around, I said, you know what? I'm going to start I'm good, and I'm starting to see people who I'm helping train surpass me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just start focusing on everything. And then right before, the pandemic hit in the States, COVID, they shut everything down. So it kind of stopped my momentum, because I was picking up a lot of momentum. So I think that's what I'm kind of nervous about, but still excited to see when everything gets back to normal. Where would I be? Will people still be in high demand for Snypes, or do I have to work my way back up?
Yeah, man, I think everybody's in the same position with COVID. Like, I'm self-employed. Literally, the pandemic hit and everything just changed. That's why I started this channel, because my business kind of just stopped overnight, because no restaurants or anybody who I would work with any of my clients were open. They had to close down. They've been kind of shut for almost a year now. And I just started this channel to give me something to do. And it's just grew from then. Wrestling's always something that I've wanted to do. I've done some training. Unfortunately, broke my neck when I was younger.
Wow.
And I had to just kind of stop wrestling. But it definitely is something that I wanted to get into. And the pandemic gave me the best kind of chance to make a YouTube channel, get more into the back office side. As a 29-year-old, I'm more into business side of stuff instead of from being back in the ring, things like that. Mm-hmm. But it's just something that I've been getting back into. And like you were saying, I don't know how wrestlers, the in-ring workers, are going to manage when things open back up. He's going to feel awkward. How is it going to feel when there's actual big crowds there again? It's just going to be quite weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I am nervous about, but excited, because now you're wrestling in front of, because me just doing the television and whatnot, we don't have any fans. It's a lot different. and me, I interact with people a lot, so it's a little different for me. But it'd be nice to see fans back. And you said about breaking your neck. I actually almost broke my neck when I started my career. I took the Doomsday Device, the LOD move,
Mm-hmm.
and and someone I just trusted these. They said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do the Doomsday Device." I said, "Okay, sure." I was up for anything, and then the person came off, and I almost broke my neck, and it was just like it was a scary situation. And I think I still have like nerve twitches sometimes from
Mm-hmm.
that, but other than that, I'm good. Luckily, I always kept my body pretty strong. So, knock on wood, I haven't broken anything or anything.
Man, mine's is not a cool story at all. I was stepping out the ring and I slipped and I just I just fell out to the from the ring, fell, and that's how I broke my neck. Like wasn't a cool story, it wasn't a move.
Oh
Just the way I
wow!
fell off, broke my neck. It was like I waited like 6 weeks to kind of go to the doctors and get it checked out because being young, still want to try and work, and I was just like my neck's really sore. Like when I came back home, I went to the doctors and they were like, "Yeah, you've broke your neck, man. You need to kind of go to the hospital a
Oh wow!
few weeks ago. You should have went." So I went. They gave me a lot of painkillers, and I just thought like, "You're not going to be able to wrestle anymore. Your neck's like ruined." But it's fully better now. Like everything's back to normal. But I just put that dampener. I fell in love with wrestling. You get one of those injuries. You're like, I hate it. I don't want to talk to it anymore. And
That's true.
you just drop it for a couple of years. But I think that's what like anything. Um, but the past, man. It's not going to change it. So, where do you see yourself going in like 10 years? Do you see yourself being in like one of the bigger companies, WWE?
In 10 years, I would say within 10 years, I do want to wrestle at least get my foot in the door in WWE or AEW. But that 10-year mark, I want to be, I guess more so like I do want to be established. And if I'm not wrestling anymore, if I like retire or whatnot, um, I'd probably be doing film and like in the film industry, if anything. But as long as my body can keep going, I'll keep going. And if people still want me at the shows, I'll be there. But yeah, that's probably where I'll be in 10 years. But within the 10 years, I do want to at least wrestle in WWE or AEW, one of the bigger companies, ROH, something like that.
Yeah, definitely, man. With the stuff that I've watched you do, like I could definitely see you in those bigger companies like NXT, WWE, probably NXT. You want to be in a cooler kind of company, you know what I mean? Instead, like a cooler kind of feel to it. But
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
no, I get what you mean, man. Like that 10 year mark, I would probably say like everybody forgets how hard it is on your body, like being a professional wrestler. I remember the first couple of months that I was doing it. I just remember every day being sore, injured. I was like 18, so I was still young, but I just remember like the pains, the aches, because you still got your training. You're living your normal life. At the weekends, you're going out and you're getting through around the ring by people
Exactly.
like twice your size. So people forget like a 10-year career for a wrestler. That's why they're always quite young. So just now, a lot of the big guys are a little bit older. Their bodies are going to be hurting. That's why I would say WWE is really good with a performance center. We've got the best sports coaches and stuff like that.
I would like to try out for. I'm really into training, so just me even trying out for WWE would be a great feat. Like it'll challenge me. I love doing stuff like that. Like the performance center, what they do and how Rikishi and Gangrel trained me was everything what the performance center would do. And there was there's a wrestler Vanessa Bourne that was in NXT. I trained with her, and she would always hit me up and say, "You need to come here. You could do this," because me and her will always compete. Because I was fast, but because she was so smaller than me, she was faster than me a lot and a lot of things. She was a lot smaller, so she could move a lot faster. But she was like, "You would definitely fit in here." So me just seeing a lot of people I know go to NXT, that's a drive as well. So somewhere I want to be.
Yeah, man, I totally get that. I'm mega into like fitness and stuff like that as well. Just coming up in March, I've got the David Goggins challenge when you do 4 miles for 48 hours. So every 4 hours you do 4 miles and you do it for 48 hours.
Oh, okay.
Which is like, it's horrible. I tried it last year and I failed, but it's a goal for me to try and do. And the competitive stuff, man, I'm probably the most competitive person you could meet in the planet. Like, that's one of the problems that I have when I get injured. I don't stop because I just feel like you're taking too much time off. You need to keep going. And still, like today, I do like some Muay Thai, some MMA stuff like that. If I hurt myself, I still just go hurt until I'm at the point when I can't walk or the pain's unbearable. I'm just like one of those hard-headed competitiveness people. Like, you just work through it and keep going for it. I suppose that's a bad thing as well.
Yeah. Well, you said Muay Thai. I'm thinking about taking a Muay Thai as well.
Man,
Like,
it's really cool. Like, it's really good for fitness. If you're into fitness, like, really love it. Muay Thai is one of the best things, man. Like, it's gets you ripped like really quickly. Like a 6 week, 8 week Muay Thai kind of camp, you'll be jacked and your cardio will be insane.
it's just a lot of things are closed over here. So, like, when I'm driving through, I see a lot of Muay Thai places just to challenge myself. Like I said, I like challenges. So, right now, just training with a lot of people. The last time I trained, I was just like, you know what? I think until everything goes back to normal, I'm going to try to avoid training with people, you know? Um, I don't know, just to stay healthy and whatnot, and be more aware of the people I'm with. So that's something I love to do, was to train and just meet different people and go up against different people. But I don't have that right now because everything's shut down. There's some schools and some places that are still open, but it's just I just want to be safe. That's all.
Yeah, man, it's the same here in Scotland. We're closed down, gyms are still closed and stuff like that. So just now I'm kind of home working out, running, doing like body weight stuff, just
Mm-hmm.
different. Try to do different workouts that I can do in the house and things like that as well. And it's pretty cool. Try to push my body in different ways, find different body weight stuff that I can do, which like I like competition stuff. That's why I do a lot of like David Goggins. If you know who that is, I do a lot of kind of his workouts on YouTube and stuff like that because they'll just burst you. So by the end of it, you're like sweating, shaking, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. If you're doing that in the house, you can just stroll into the bath and go for a shower.
Well, the lucky thing here is that some private gyms are open, and then they have gyms called speakeasies. Basically, they're outside, and so I just went back to the East Coast of the states, and because I'm on the West Coast, I just went back, and then I was eating bad, and then I just had an epiphany. I said, you know what? I'm gonna join the gym to push me harder because I was just like, I'm just getting out of shape. I'm not, you know. I'm just eating really bad, a lot of junk food and stuff. And I want to be ready once everything opens back up, you know? I don't want to, like, start getting ready when things start to happen, you know?
Yeah, everything in Scotland's kind of is closed. We don't have outside gyms because how cold it is here.
Uh-huh.
If you had outside gyms here, it would just be nobody would go to them. It rains 95% of the time, so we don't get that enjoyment. We do have some gyms that's like smaller own gyms that have outside bits because they've not got enough room. But yeah, it's far too cold here to be going outside in the winter months.
I bet. I mean, here I'm in, like, so it's sunny here all the time right now because I'm in California. But if you're on the East Coast, it was a little cold. Like, I was just over there in January. I think while I was there, I had 3 or 4 snowstorms. So
Yeah,
yeah, I understand.
yeah, it's the East Coast kind of weather's pretty similar to what Scotland's like.
Mm-hmm.
Just we're just a smaller country. But the other questions we like to ask is, what's something that you love about wrestling today? Is it how much wrestling there is? Is it what's something that you love about wrestling today?
I think what really stands out to me is how athletic a lot of people are and their talents, how They're very boastful and they have that attitude. Like Blanca Belair, she's one of them that I really enjoy. And from AEW, Anthony Bowens, like people like that. I really like their character and how they hold themselves. And I'll be like, oh man, I would love to go like have a banter with them, you know, like just be on the mic with them. That's what I would really like. So that's what I love about wrestling, that people are bringing a lot of attitude, a lot of cockiness to the wrestling world, and they're very athletic. So it pushes me to be like, oh man, I have to be just as athletic as them, whether it's body wise or just be able to do a nip up, you know, like stuff like that. Like that's what really blows my mind, that a lot of these people are really athletic, and it's like they almost have no fear whatsoever doing some of this stuff.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's cool to get somebody who's in the business today's kind of point of view. We've had a few wrestlers on the show so far, and it's always different when we get a wrestling fan on there talking it more from like a story perspective, what they like and dislike about today's product. And when I speak to you guys and you're talking about like athleticism, because obviously the people in the ring are insanely muscular. They can outdo me in anything. I'm the most competitive person ever, and I know they would win hands down, because there's no way I can compete with some of those people. But yeah, man, it's cool to see the difference between like speaking to like the fans about storylines and stuff like that, and then speaking to you guys about kind of the different kind of side of it. And the other question is, what is something that you dislike? What is something that you dislike about today's product? So today's kind of wrestling business, what's something you dislike?
I feel like what I dislike about wrestling is that a lot of companies, they don't believe in the newer guys, and they're kind of scared to put their trust in the newer people because they're safe with the people that everyone already knows. But I think that's what I dislike, is that I feel like it's just a circle. It just keeps going round and round, and not getting new stars or new people to really look at. Or if we do, they'll make them the top guy for only a few months, and then give it to someone who's like probably past the prime, or they already had their shine. You know, that's probably what I dislike the most. It's hard to really, like, when I used to watch wrestling, you can latch on to someone and they become a star, you know? Like them just trusting certain people, like the Stone Colds, the Rocks, them putting the trust in them so they could become a bigger star, Kurt Angle. You know, just that's what I feel like we need more of, is just trusting in the newer upcoming people.
Definitely, man. I would agree with you 100%. There's not really like a younger guy that you can be like, this is the next up and coming talent. It kind of feels like it is that like late 30s, like 38 till 45 kind of age range. The people are obviously still in their prime at that point, but it does feel like it's that upper kind of age
it's
range.
like a transition. It's like, okay, we're going to give the title or make this the top guy for maybe like 3 months, but it's just so we can give this guy who's been doing it for 18 years a break, so people don't see him for a little bit. Now we'll give it back to him. So that's why I feel like it's more so.
Yeah, definitely. Like what you were saying, man, back in like see that Attitude Era, early 2000s, when they had like the younger guys, you knew what ones were going to be stars, like especially early 2000s, Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Edge.
Like, who knew Edge was like them trusting for Edge? Edge was tag team first. I would have never, when Edge premiered, I remember when they kept teasing him coming to the WWE. It was just a weird. It was like black and white, and he was some kind of loner or something. I would never have thought that he would be as big as he is today. You know, he was good, and I like to watch him. But I would never have thought he would like be like a Rock or Stone Cold. You know, and I feel like they need to trust in people like that more often, and stop giving it to the guys who are already established.
Definitely, man. The worst thing I think just now for like companies is there's so many good wrestlers. There's so many young, good talent in that age range between like 18 and 35 of just like people you could just give a shot to somebody and they'll be great. There's so many great wrestlers in that age range that it's like, who do you pick? You can't get everybody to that point. But then I think they're doing the opposite. They're turning around and being like, well, we're just not going to pick anybody. We're just going to settle for our older kind of guys that we've got, which hurts the business in the long run. But I'm sure all you guys are going to get the shot eventually. You're going to be holding those titles and be up there.
So that's probably what I dislike about wrestling right now. It kind of, ever since I started wrestling, I actually stopped watching wrestling as much as I used to. Wrestling used to be on every single, I had a roommate and he would just say like, man, after wrestling comes on Monday, it seemed like it comes on every single day of the week. It's like, it was a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Sunday. He was like, because he absolutely despises wrestling. And then he's like, oh, it comes on every single day. I'm like, no, there's only Monday. Then you got, at the time it was like Thursday for SmackDown, and it was Sundays for the pay-per-views. And back in the day, they used to have Saturdays, like shotgun Saturdays and stuff like that. So it's funny.
Yeah, man. I think when you watch wrestling, especially like WWE Network, you can literally watch it every single day because you've got so much to choose from. And if somebody, like a roommate or like my fiance, she likes wrestling every now and again, but she's just not a big fan of it. And every time she comes in, she's like, "Why are you watching wrestling again?" I'm like, "Well, I need to watch it. I've got a channel on YouTube. I've got like stuff I need to do for it." But I think she's clicked on that I'm kind of just saying that so I can watch wrestling a little bit more.
Oh yeah. It's not for everybody, but I mean, I grew up with it. I actually never was a big wrestling fan, to be honest. Like when I was growing up, I knew about wrestling. I knew about Yokozuna, Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, of course. And then I think one time a guy was at school. He said, "Just watch one episode of one show," and I watched it, and I was hooked onto that. And that was it. I would watch it every single day, every Monday it came on. So
yeah, man, it just takes that one person to give you that shove like into it. Like you kind of know of it, and then somebody shoves you into it, and that's you just hooked. Yeah, before you know it, it's however many years down the line, and you're actually wrestling. You're in the ring.
Exactly.
Like, how did I end up here if it wasn't for that one guy pushing me into it?
It is funny. It's just there's two things in my life I never thought I would pursue, and wrestling was one of them, and the other one was being an astronaut. I love the profession and everything, but I was like, I would never pursue those professions. And then wrestling just happened. I mean, it was just something that I fell into, and I started loving it. It's just I feel like I might be a little further in my career if I made wiser decisions in the beginning of my career. Even with training, like I do feel like I stayed training a little too long. Like for 3 years, I was just training. I was wrestling the same people. I wasn't getting anywhere. I didn't know how good I was or what I could actually do until I left Rikishi school and I started knowing more people in the circuit. And then I started training with other people. Like I've trained with a few people and just get their takes on how this is and how that is. Because everyone has like more than one sensei, but there's one person who laid my foundation, you know?
100%, man. I think like anybody, when you're that little bit younger, you try and stay within that kind of comfort zone. You get used to things, so you kind of stay there, and you're always kind of you might set and judge yourself, not sure where you should move to, things like that. But once you finally do it, once you break out of just that kind of comfort zone. So for me, it was when I was growing up after I broke my neck in wrestling. I went through a couple of things. I ended up in a job that I hated, and I was there for like 4 or 5 years, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go do my own business. I hate people telling me what to do, what time I need to be places. I like to have my own kind of schedule. Now I work more hours than what I did then, kind of in my own business, but it's something I like doing, and it's just kind of breaking that comfort zone. I think it's the same a lot of wrestlers as well. Like we were saying, the younger guys, they get stuck in that kind of comfort zone. They enjoy like working on the indies, or they enjoy being in like a smaller company where they're kind of known. And I think that's just a thing that people need to break. It might just be a comfort kind of thing, a comfort blanket, which I think everybody's got one of those. Like they're happy just to stay somewhere because they know it's going to work.
Mm-hmm. My advice to just anybody, if you feel like you're becoming stagnant and you're not learning, it's time to move on. Like people are going to want you to stay and say, no, you're good here, but nothing's going to change unless you make the change, because people, if it's a company or if it's this, a lot of people in this world, they want you to do good, but not better than them. So you have to think of it that way. Like they want you to do good, but not everybody wants you to surpass them. So you have to make your own decisions in that and what's best for you.
100%, man. And also people need to realise life's a long game. Like your working life is such a long, obviously for a wrestler it's a little bit shorter because of you can't be doing it when you're 55. Well,
Some people
people can, but no everybody can be doing certain things. But like it's a long thing depending what you're going to be doing. And like you says, people, everybody's happy to tell you what they done, but then they don't want you to try and get better than them. Like you can see it if you just look on social media. It'll be like, sign up to my course and we'll show you how to get rich. But it's like you might not get rich, so don't try and copy what we done by setting up a course. And yeah, that's one thing that annoys me about social media at the minute as well. Is just like the amount of financial gurus, investment gurus, and stuff like that. They just make no sense what they're saying. And it's the same within the wrestling industry as well. You'll get those kind of, not so much anymore, but like back when I was first kind of start training in Scotland, you would get people that would say that it was like, oh, we're a wrestling school, but it was actually like an Olympic wrestling school. So they would just get these people who want to be professional wrestlers and they would just beat the shit out of you. And then,
oh wow,
then you would be like, okay, that's not the correct wrestling I was wanting to do. And you had to try and find it, which back when, like back when 2007.
So it was amateur wrestling. It was amateur wrestling. That's what. That reminds me of that South Park episode. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, it was pretty much like that, because in Scotland we don't have like an amateur wrestling as part of like, it's not like a national kind of thing. Like we have like an Olympic team and stuff like that, but you have to go seek it out. There's a wrestling skill you need to go seek out, and if you type in wrestling skills or professional wrestling skills, it just sends you to these like amateur wrestling, Olympic wrestling, Greco style guys that will just take your money and just beat the shit out of you and be like, oh, I think you wanted to go to like a WWE style school, and you're like, yeah, I think I did, man. So I done that for a good couple of months, but I got a good basis, man. It got me into enjoying actual MMA and wrestling and stuff like that as well. Then when I went and trained, it was a lot more easier for me to pick it up. Yeah, so the other question we've got here is, who's your favourite wrestler of all time? Who's somebody that back in the day when you were watching it all the time, would you be like, that's my favourite guy there?
Of course, a lot of people say it's cliche, but I feel like it's not cliche because he's the guy who actually hooked me onto wrestling. It was The Rock. And Dwayne Johnson, he was just, because I remember when, I don't even think I was really watching wrestling like that, but I might have saw an episode of when he first came out as Rocky Maivia, and he looked so corny. Like I was just like, he was just like someone you did not care for. And then when he changed his whole persona, like that was just like it for me. Like how he made that whole entire 180 flip and changed it into something he believed will work. It was just himself personified, and I feel like that's what Snypes is. It's me just personified to the max with all the drama, all the trash talking, stuff like that. So The Rock is definitely my favorite wrestler of all time. He's athletic. He knew how to work the crowd. So That's who I admire as a wrestler. But there's plenty of other guys who um, I do like as well, like Shawn Michaels. I just always love his matches, for one.
Mhm.
I feel like The Rock was the type of person who could hype you up for that match or like get you really excited. And that's probably what wrestling lacks to me as well. Like the hypeness over the match, like the build up, and then you're like, man, finally it's going to be Stone Cold versus The Rock, finally, and and then it's actually something to actually look forward to. So the Attitude Era is what raised me, I would say, on wrestling. Um, he's just my all-time favorite wrestler. I enjoy um, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Bret Hart. Like those are like my tops.
Yeah, like for me, it's Bret Hart or Sting. Those two are like my two favourites. Cause I remember seeing Sting on TV and just the face paint and the kind of mystique, and I was just like, I need to watch this. This is like such a cool show. And then Bret Hart was when I was a little bit older, and you can just appreciate how good of a wrestler he is. Like he's just insanely good. But like The Rock as well, you can't really just pick one, from back then. You've always got like a list. But once you go, Bret Hart, then it's Stone Cold, Undertaker, Sting, Rock, Booker T, like just bunch
Mm-hmm.
of people that'll just pop into your brain the minute you see it. And what's your favourite event of all time? So like a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. What's your favourite event of all time?
Uh, it always was the Royal Rumble. Like back in the day when you had to pay for the pay-per-views and whatnot. Like my parents would pay for them, and I knew I had to really space them out on the events that I can get. And I always wanted WrestleMania, so it was very hard for me to get the Royal Rumble because Royal Rumble's in January. So it was hard for me. And WrestleMania was like mostly at the end of March. Now it's like going to like a beginning of April sometimes. Um, but it was very hard for me to get the Royal Rumble, but I always loved the Royal Rumble. And WrestleMania, it was just like I had to pick and choose because my mom or dad, they would always say, "Well, we just got you the other pay-per-view." I'm like, "Yeah, but that was 2 months ago." I'm like, Royal Rumble was 2 months ago. I want to see WrestleMania now. So I will always save up to see WrestleMania, but I always wanted to see the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Um,
man. I used to always be jealous of you guys in America because you get it at like a normal time. For us here in Scotland, it was always like I remember my first staying up to watch a WrestleMania. I think it was like 14. I can't even remember what WrestleMania was, but it was like it was on at like 3 in the morning. Do you know what I mean? It started at like midnight, was on to like 3, 4 in the morning. So I was sitting there like falling asleep, and it was back the pay-per-view days. My mum paid for it, and she was like, "You better stay up and watch this. Like, you better enjoy this, and the next day you better get up and enjoy it." And I was like, "I love it. I love it. Couldn't stay awake the next day."
But that was the thing about the WrestleMania and the pay-per-views. They always happened on Sundays, so it was like I had school the next day.
Yeah,
So that's why they never really wanted to buy me the pay-per-views. And now you think about certain things, you get mad like, "Oh man, they didn't buy me the pay-per-view." But nowadays you can watch everything like the WWE Network, like even television shows. I remember just growing up, I would have my dad record things when I couldn't be there. And I remember one time he forgot to record, like it was like a series finale of this cartoon I remember. I was so mad at him. But then you look at it back and it's like, man, I was mad, but I can watch it anytime now. And that's how wrestling is. I might have been mad. My parents didn't give me Royal Rumble '98, but I can like watch it, replay it, and all that. You think it's the end of the world back then?
yeah, man. Kids today don't understand. Like, so I've got my kids. They don't. They just if they miss a cartoon, just put it on their tablet or they get it the next day on Netflix, whatever. They don't really mind. But when we were younger, it was you missed like a series finale, especially a TV series. You missed that one. That was you.
Yeah.
Because you'll never see that again for years. There's no way to go buy it. The DVDs or VHSs back then wouldn't come out for a year or two, you need to try and go into Blockbuster or a DVD shop or something to try and find it. It was always too expensive. Your mum and dad never got it. Kids don't get it.
Yeah, we had it rough. It was like the end of the world.
Yeah, man,
So,
you used to. I remember it was a few times when I was like, a pay per view came to the UK, like Rebellion, I think it was in 2000.
oh
And
yeah.
I was like, can I get this pay per view? Because it'll be at an okay time. Because my mum used to hate me having to stay up late at night. And she was like, yeah, I'll phone up. And she says to me at the time, oh, it's sold out. So obviously, when you're older, you realise how pay per view works. As in, if you're watching the TV, you don't need a ticket. And I just remember when I was like 13, and I realised how pay per views work. So this was when I was like, I can't remember, 9, 10. And I realised how it worked when I was older. And I fell out with her for about a week. I was like, you cost me from seeing this. And that was back when, even still back then, you wouldn't get the DVD or VHS. You couldn't find it. It would just never be anywhere. And I just remember being put in a huff with her for ages because of that.
Because it's like, because Raw was the next day and they would just sum up everything. And you're like, man, I wanted to see it though. So it's kind of like they just sum everything up. So it kind of sucked then. But yeah.
Yeah, man, it's weird when you see like kids now with tablets and like they can just catch up and stuff whenever they want. And then when we were younger, it was like you're sitting, you have to turn the TV on and like the exact time to record it with the VHS, and if you wanted to watch it, you had to be there. Commercial breaks, you run into the toilet and stuff like that. I always think it's hilarious now. Like my kids are like, just pause it and they go to the toilet, and I'm like, I always forget to. I just
When
get
they
up,
had
still run.
like they got out when TiVo came out. I think that was like the first recording thing that was really big. You could just stop, pause, and now everything's just different. The world's different, you know.
You could argue it's better. You could say it's worse. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably find out in another 10 years, depending what happens.
Exactly.
And finishing up, the last question I always like to ask is, if you could go to any event at any time and wrestle against any wrestler, who would it be? So, for example, mine would be to wrestle Bret Hart, SummerSlam '94, replace Owen Hart. So it would just be me against Bret Hart in that blue cage.
A replacement. Let's see. It will probably, well, I think, let's see, man, it was a great match. I would have loved to be in the match, the second match with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Probably a triple threat or something like that. I hate triple threat matches, though. I really do. But I would love to have been in that match. That would have been pretty fun. What else? Maybe I'm trying to think of something from like AEW, what I would want to do. But that would be a match that I would definitely want to do. Be me, Taker, and Shawn Michaels. And I feel like I would be like the in-between guy. Like I feel like I would be big to Shawn Michaels, but small to the Undertaker kind of. It would be like I would be the middle guy. He's really big and tall and muscular, and then Shawn Michaels is like the fast guy, and I would be just like the average one. I'm strong, fast, but man, for or maybe even the Hell in Cell with the Hell in Cell with all the guys. What was it? Kishi, Taker, The Rock. I believe Austin was in it. Angle, Triple H. I would love to done that too. Maybe replace either Kishi or Angle. I would want to be in one of their spots.
Yeah.
Kishi or Angle.
No, man, both those ones are good picks, especially that Shawn Michaels Undertaker one was one of my favourite kind of newer wrestling moments. I know it was still like a long time ago, but it still feels like it was only last year or 2 years ago. But the 6-man Hell in the Cell one, I hated that for my whole life. And I've watched it like twice. I don't really like it that much. I think it just doesn't work. And but if I could pick a Hell in a Cell to be in, it would be that one, because then you could kind of get a cool angle in. You've got so many cool guys that are in it, like Triple H, Taker, Stone Cold, Rock, Angle, Rikishi. There's so many guys that you could work with. But yeah, man, I'd like to thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Where can people find you? I've got your links in the description below, but let them know where they can find you.
Oh, definitely. Instagram is the best where to reach me. It's at hyped, HYPED _Snypes, or Twitter. I'm just starting to build up the Twitter. I don't use it as much, but it's Snypes7. Same thing with Facebook, Snypes7. And I just started. I'm going to start selling my shirts online as well. I haven't put them up yet because I'm still packaging them, but they're coming. And when everything starts to happen, you'll see more of me. Trust me.
100%, man. So what I'm going to do is I'll get those links and I'll put them in the description below if anybody wants to go find you. I'd recommend to go check out your matches, the ones you've been sharing on Twitter and stuff like that, because they've been really cool. And go find them on YouTube and things like that, or anywhere they can buy them to support you. Your t-shirts are there. Fire me over the link, and I'll promote it on like my Twitter and stuff like that to hopefully try and get you a couple of sales with that. If you just wait there, I'm going to end the recording, and I'll speak to you for 2 minutes after it.
Yeah.